Hi, it's Pastor Paul Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Terrific Tuesday. We're so grateful that God has us right almost near the middle of the week, and we're just so blessed to be here, and we thank God for the wonderful things He's done in all of our lives. It is on today. I ask that you look with me into that little epistle that we call the book of Titus, the first chapter, verses 1 through 9. This is that letter that Paul writes to Titus, his son in the ministry. He does something so powerful. First of all, he says, this letter is genuinely from me, Paul. During their time and during this age, Paul was identifying this letter was genuinely coming from him because there were other people who were writing what we call pseudepigraphas, or false letters, or letters that were written in the same stylistic of Paul. And Paul wanted him, first of all, to know for sure this letter is coming from me. You know, it's always good to know what the message is and to whom it's coming from. And he identifies himself that it's from me, Titus, and I want you to receive this letter from me in love and know what work God has in store for you. He says it's coming from me. And secondly, he says, I am a slave to God. He lets us see, and we understand that Paul was one of these guys. His name was formerly Saul of Tarsus. And then by his conversion, he became what we call a bond slave, which says that he decided that he would be in servitude to Jesus Christ, him and him alone. And in their day, a bond slave would put an earring in their ear to show that they freely belong to someone else. So he lets everybody know who he is. He's first of all, he's Paul. He's a slave. And then secondly, he says, I'm a bond slave. And then thirdly, he says, I am an apostle of Jesus Christ. He wants them to know I have authentically had the encounter of knowing Jesus for myself. He personally called me from a world of sin and commissioned me into the gospel. So he lets them know this is an authentic letter coming from him. Now he says all of this to set them up for the work that God has called them to do. He tells them that God has sent you the truth. So I want you to hear the truth, know the truth, and live by the truth. It is in the context of this that he lets them know that God has promised exactly what he would do. He would qualify them. He would choose them. He would use them for the work that he has already set before them to do. So as we go through this text, it lets us see that he reminds them, in order to do this work, you must first of all know that you are genuinely who you say you are. He says that when I left the island of Crete, I wanted to make sure that you all understood, in order to do the work, you must qualify yourself to say that I am genuinely who I say I am. Paul made no bones about it. He was truly who he said he was, and he wanted to make sure that there was no confusion about the matter. But he says those who are going to do this work, those whom you appoint elders in your town to teach, make sure that first of all of them live a blameless life. We live in a world today that it seems as though we blame everybody else for the predicaments we fall in, as opposed to living a blameless life. In the text, when he talks about a blameless life, he's talking about a person who can find themselves to stand head and shoulder against any accusations that come against them, to let them know that they have qualified themselves of truly being who they say they are, that you're a genuine person. And then he tells them, make sure that there is no question about who you are connected with. He talks about that you must be not like the rest of the world in their day. He talks about the qualifications being the husband of one wife, knowing that everybody knows that you live a life in concert with what the scripture says. And then he tells them not only your one wife, but then he goes on to say that you must make sure that your children always are behaving and find themselves as being true converts in the faith. You know, we live in a world today that sometimes we say, well, I am in service to do something, but that doesn't mean my whole family have to be a part of it. Back in their day, when a person came to Christ, we can find it written throughout the text. It says that not only am I saved, but my entire household as well. And I love it the way it was written in the Old Testament. You remember how Joshua said it? He said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He was able to speak for his whole house. And nowadays, some of us can't even speak for ourselves, much less our whole house. So he encourages us to make sure that we live a life that God can get glory from, and that our lives can be, quote unquote, amplified to say that this is what the power of Christ can do in a person's life that has been transformed. My brothers and sisters, none of us are perfect, but there is a standard that God asks us to live up to and to live by. I want to challenge you as I challenge myself. May we all live according to what God has given to us in Titus, and may all of us live a life whereby folk can see there must be Christ in you because I see a change in your life. Let's make sure that people can see the trueness of the gospel at work in our lives, that other people's lives can be transformed because they see what God has done in ours. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. And I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.